So sorry guys, welcome back. It looks like the first part has abruptly ended because of the recording limitations there. So let me just continue from where I left. So let me share my screen back again. So apologies for that again. So let me share my screen. So this is where I stopped. In fact, ER data modeling tools in the market. ERWin is from a very long time, as I explained. SQL DBM is the very latest one. It's very effective. You can just search online for that, and you can easily model the database as well. Interlinks ER. Anyway, it's ER based and actual data types of all the attributes in all the entities. So they reduce the manual efforts. They can also be used by business users to derive business requirements, as we explained earlier. Also, this ER modeling is very useful in data warehousing, data vault. I will also explain data vault in the end-to-end training. So that's why I said it will be at least 3 parts. It can also go to 6 parts of the end-to-end training. So dimensional modeling projects as well. Normalize. So normalize is very much important in terms of the data model. So what is the difference between data model and dimensional model? See, usually dimensional model comes in data warehousing concepts, all right, and OLAP, in fact. So data model is mostly an OLTP system. Uh, how would you define the interlink between different entities as well? Is what the data model is. So normalization is something is nothing but dividing different concepts in our real life into multiple entities and interlinking. For example, employee and department, right? Employee and department can be put in one entity, can be amalgamated into one entity, but it is so you won't have a meaningful reporting on top of that. So you have to normalize that one entity which is amalgamated into multiple entities and create an interlink between them such that it is more compatible for reporting, in reporting perspective. So when you have amalgamated data, right? So it is need denormalized. It is called as a denormalization. All the attributes lying in very few entities actually creates chaos in reporting. All right. So and huge data is piled up, and all the acid properties also will be, compromised, and a lot of duplicacy, integrity issues, stability issues, durability issues, consistency, all just get into uh, get into the visibility. That's if you don't normalize much. So usually data warehousing are more denormalized. In fact, data warehouses are more denormalized. So let's go into the concepts here. Determinant, functional dependency, full. So I'll explain you uh, all these concepts while I go into the very deep dive, because I have to explain through the diagrams there and it will take a lot of time. So I'll put that as part of a different location integrate to the riser pay there. Yeah. Determinant. So what is the driving entity? Full functional dependency, partial dependency, transient dependency is depend like through another table. Key attributes, non-key attributes, non-key attributes. Yeah. Types of normal forms, 1NF, 2NF, 3NF, these all have to be explained very pictorially. It's not feasible for this preview in the YouTube session. Yeah. Fourth normal, fifth normal form, advantages and disadvantages of normalization. Yeah. Structured query. So I have come to the SQL, why we need SQL, history of SQL, data types, statement types, data definition, everything will be explained very practically. Create table, alter table, drop, create index, all those. All right. Uh, Data manipulation language, insert, delete, update, select. Obviously, the definitions are straightforward, but how do you implement practically is the most criteria there. Is the criteria. All the other SQL. So there are other SQL built-in identifiers that I put in distinct row selection, where, between, in, like, is, null. All this will be explained very practically. Sorting aggregate functions group by having union, intersect, exist, not exist. What is the difference between exist and, excuse me, and a join? Subqueries, independent subqueries, correlated subqueries, joins, self join, inner join, outer join, cross join. There is one more I want to add here, cross join as well. All right. Views, horizontal view, vertical view, drop view. How would you create all these view updates? I'll just show you a quick view in the RDBMS tool, Microsoft SQL Server, for preview purpose for now. Advantages, disadvantages of views, other cons, stored procedures, you have triggers, you have error handling. All these are very straightforward concepts. You have references everywhere all around the world. There are lakhs and lakhs of. I just want to make the end-to-end training more practical, make you more confident and and in terms of layman perspective, very layman perspective, terminology can be understood by a school student or a college student as well. So this will be in evolution to the end-to-end BI. I'll evolve this into the Microsoft SQL Server different versions. What are the enhancements in all the versions, new features added, go into the Power Pivot, Power Querying, then into the Power BI as well, SSIS. So before Power BI, right, it's MSBI. The evolution goes into the MSBI, Business Intelligence there. So first comes SSIS, SSAS, SSRS, Reporting Services, Analysis Services, Integration Services. All right, how we build the data warehouse. So how would you create one end-to-end BA project also I'll be explaining how you create, how would you start, how would you from the requirements gathering, how would you gather the requirements, how would you put in a functional document, technical documentation, how would you lay out the architecture in the technical documentation, what is the grain of the reporting, what the client needs, client needs the grain of the reporting as well. Uh, so So all the SSIS will be part of the ETL. So extract, transform, and load, and AS will be part of the OLAP, RS will be part of the reporting. So before you do an ETL, you should have the data warehouse in there. So it's the final destination where you have to load the data for reporting. Before that, you have stages, interim stages, staging. Rep- you have you can have another stage called as repository as well. So the staging will stage all the data from the different sources. So I'll explain the ETL architecture as well in a different session there as part of the next sessions where I build the data warehouses and all. Data warehouse, how would you do the diagramming to create the dimensions, facts, interlink between the facts. What are the types of facts? What are the types of dimensions? How would you create the ETL in SSIS to update dimensions, to update facts? How would you use the merge statements in SQL to update the dimensions as well? How would you use the SSRS for reporting? How would you use AS for reporting as well? Three-dimensional reporting. How would you create the cube in SSAS? All those I'll explain in the next stages of BI. So this is the first stage. All those advanced TS will be discussed end-to-end training. Many advanced TSQL internals will be. So after RDBMS, as I told, SQL Server versions and how SQL performs internally is the next chapter. All right, how the SQL optimizer works, how the logical query processing works, TSQL. Then there is next is TSQL. All right. Then there is the next successive one is MSBI. So what are the parts of MSBI? Okay. Then the data warehousing. Then the data vault. All this will come into the picture. Yeah. And then you have the end-to-end project, how the project is executed, how you do that. Yeah. So logical query processing, as I told, how a query is executed. This is not part of the RDBMS, but I just want to give you a glimpse in the end-to-end as well, end-to-end training. Data control. So you grant and revoke privilege. These are all common concepts. Okay. Embedded SQL. It's like you use variables inside the SQL, right? So the SQL itself becomes a variable. So how would you implement that? So what are the best practices there? All those will come online. So OLTP, as I told, two concepts: online transaction processing, online analytic processing. So I'll explain OLAP in the end. But so a lot of OLTP systems have a lot of transactions there. Transaction system, batch transactions, online transaction, real-time transaction, transaction properties, requirements for an OLTP system, integrity cons, lost update, dirty read, incorrect phantom reads, locks and isolation levels, shade lock exclusive, granularity of locking, intent shade, intent exclusive, shade intent exclusive, and the isolation levels. Locking and isolations go hand in hand. This mostly in Microsoft perspective, Microsoft SQL perspective, but when you interlink to the product, then you will understand. There are many references explain isolation levels, but the most important thing is to understand this concept practice. So how the lock mechanism works. So when there are two transactions that are running on an entity, how the other transaction hides and this transaction works. How would you track the locking through the SQL profiler? Then the SQL profiler retrieves, it actually records the locking through an XML file. So when you go into the XML, which transaction is actually locking the table, all those will be explained. It's a very deep dive in an end-to-end. How we use these isolations to avoid data reads, phantom reads, non-repeatable reads, repeatable reads as I already explained. So this is the concurrency and locking criteria, relation between concurrency and locking. So isolation levels, different isolation levels, and how data read, non-repeatable phantom reads can be minimized or at each level of isolation level. So as the isolation level increases, the concurrency decreases. So you have to understand that inversely proportional. I'll explain you practically as well. Internal concept. So deadlock, timestamping, security, recovery, transact, deferred updating, checkpoints. So these are all internal concepts. A lot of internal concepts are also there. I will. So these are just a preview, and even in the end-to-end training, this will be explained. But like there is a ocean of concepts in SQL internals. SQL internals is a big ocean, so you have lot many books already available in the market, but how would you interlink those theoretical concepts to the practical concepts is most important thing. And this is a unique thing about my end-to-end business intelligence training. Comprehensive, practical. I would So it's just learning the concepts. As I told, idea is not enough. Practical implementation. So ideas should be materialized, in fact. And how would you learn the concepts is to interlink to practical scenarios. So online, as I told, OLAP. So historical data is stored, compatible for remote reporting needs. Why we need OLAP when OLTP existing? Because OLAP is more in a reporting compatibility perspective. You can report on OLAP, but OLTP is very difficult. OLAP is more denormalized, but and its performance is also good, in fact, for querying. I have to explain this denormalization, normalization differences as well. Okay, while I already have the normalization concept in this agenda, so I'll explain it there. OLAP, when you talk about OLAP, there will be cubes that will be coming in Microsoft SQL Server SSAS. OLTP, yeah, anyways, is a databases you have. So OLTP can also be real-time systems like the financial systems, right? Yeah. What are cubes in Microsoft, as I already told, is part of OLAP. What is data modeling, dimension? Subtle difference is there. Data modeling, dimension modeling, mostly in terms of data warehousing. Whereas when you go to data vault, it's totally different. Hubs, links, and satellites. So there you can actually call it as data modeling. Yeah. So data modeling is mostly linked to OLTP and data vaults. Difference between, yeah, as I told. Uh, So why data warehouse is needed, characteristic data warehouse, grain of the reporting, how cardinality plays a crucial role. As I told, many to many, right? The many to many cardinality in data warehousing is a crucial one. You need to introduce hybrid tables, hybrid entities. Otherwise, the interlink between the measures. So facts will have the measures. So I'll explain all these data warehousing concepts in separate end-to-end training as well. Yeah. Dimension star schema, snowflake schema. You have dimension models. Then the hybrid between star schema and 3NF is called as data vault. All right. So data collection. How will you do the data collection? Storing of data using merge. So there are many tools available in the market to load the data into the data warehouse, like SSIS, Informatica, You have Pentaho, you have, so there are many tools available. There are also automations available in order to load the data as well, like the BIML, Business Intelligence Markup Language. You can actually automate them. Data warehousing, data mart, different reporting of different tools for reporting, different between data warehouse and data mart. Data mart is a subset of data warehouse. Uh, Different tools are available for data warehouse as well, like SSRS. Many tools, in fact, nowadays, data you have SSRS, you have Power BI, you have Tableau, you have other tools as well. Cognos, I think Cognos is Cubes, but yeah, there are many other tools as well. Yeah, online reference also available. But I'll explain mostly Power BI and SSRS in this part of MSBI end-to-end training. Yeah. How data warehouse is achieved and different tools. Yeah, as I told, the data warehousing, how you build a data warehouse through ER diagram, logic, conceptual schema, logical schema, physical schema, right? So you go through the architectural way and views you create and all those. And tools for data ETL as well. How do you do it? SSIS, Informatica, data modeling, dimension modeling. So advanced RDBMS concepts is mostly it's covered already, but we need to dwell in logical query processing, how the database and the structure as I explained right initially. So that will come into the advanced RDBMS troubleshooting. So as it comes in the end-to-end training, I go in parallel to the practical implementations, and I interlink to the concepts that are learned. All right. So there are many other troubleshooting that occurs in terms of TSQ. So when you code the TSQL as well, you'll have. So when I create I go from, for example, I take an MSBA project. All right. So now I have the requirement gathering. So in the requirement gathering, I would try to conclude. I'll try to conclude all the dimensions and facts. In fact, so I would ask what kind of reporting is needed in requirements gathering. So give us some sample reports. So what dimensions you need to report on and what are the measures you need. So based on that, you can derive the grain of reporting, and when the grain is finalized, you can create the facts dimensions. So the next stage I go into that, I create an ER model, right? So I would say I would explain the troubleshooting concepts, even the ER modeling techniques. How would I build the logical schema in ER diagram? Obviously, I will have a conceptual schema in the requirement gathering as well, as I told the grain, right? Yeah. And then into the physical database creating, that's the development. Then after development of these entities, so during the development as well, what are the errors you face, failures? I would fail many, many times, in fact. Supposedly and wantedly, I will fail so that you will understand how to fix them, how to face the challenges when it fails. All right. So everything I'll explain based on failures, not on success. So this is a very unique method of, I would say, teaching, not training. All right. So going to the next step, quiz will be there for each and every intermittent stages, very practical questions, including interview questions. I have already prepared a blue book, which that needs to be edited out. I have all my project experiences dumped into that. Whatever I have learned through 14 plus years, I just so knowledge sharing is caring, but obviously sometimes it's whatever gain the knowledge may not be for free. I mean, I would not. So it will be integrated to the Razor Pay if the nominal amount very nominal. It's not very huge uh, as well, and I would be using even that for, as I told in the beginning, for charity as well. So knowledge sharing is caring always, and I would also be sharing tips and tricks intermittently in this YouTube channel as well. But end-to-end training, I'll in a separate location, as I already told. So I think that's pretty much it in this specific instance of the session, the second session. It's mostly in a preview mode, but thank you for your time. Please let me know if any questions in the comments as well, or I've already provided my contacts in my first session. Thank you. Thank you for your time.